Picture a candlelit hall in the Palace of Whitehall, 1530s England, where the air hums with whispered secrets and the rustle of velvet gowns. Beneath the grandeur of the Tudor court, where nobles vied for Henry VIII's favor, a darker current pulsed, scandals that could topple reputations and end lives. These weren't just the intrigues of kings and queens, but the hidden dramas of ordinary courtiers, servants, and lesser nobles caught in a web of desire, betrayal, and power. A chambermaid's stolen glance, a knight's forbidden letter, a lady-in-waiting's whispered confession — these were the sparks that ignited scandals, shaking the foundations of England's elite. Why did these ordinary souls risk everything for a moment of passion? And how did their choices ripple through the court? Welcome to the untold story of the Tudor sex scandals, where love was a dangerous game and resilience was the only path to survival. In the 1530s, England's Tudor court was a glittering stage of ambition and danger. Under Henry VIII, whose quest for a male heir reshaped the nation, the court at Whitehall and Hampton Court buzzed with nobles, courtiers, and servants. Letters from Spanish ambassador Eustace Chapuis describe a world of opulence, banquets laden with venison, musicians playing lutes, and nobles in fur-lined cloaks. Yet beneath this splendor lay a ruthless hierarchy. Status was everything, and a single misstep could mean disgrace or execution, as court records from the period attest. While the scandals of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn are well known, the lives of ordinary courtiers, grooms, maids, and lesser knights were equally entangled in the court's sexual politics. Chancery rolls from 1535 reveal that illicit affairs were common, with nearly 1 in 5 court cases involving accusations of lewd behavior among non-elites. These scandals weren't mere gossip, they were power struggles, where desire could elevate or destroy. The Church, still Catholic before the Reformation's full sweep, condemned adultery and fornication, yet the court's culture of favoritism and secrecy fostered temptation, as noted in the diaries of courtier Thomas Wyatt. Consider the life of a chambermaid, her days spent scrubbing hearths and mending linens in the shadow of noble women's silks. In 1534, a woman like her, recorded as Margaret in a Westminster court ledger, found herself at the heart of a scandal that rocked the lower ranks of the court. Margaret, barely 20, served in the household of Sir Thomas Cheney, a knight favored by Henry VIII. Her routine was grueling, rising at dawn to tend fires, her hands chapped from lye. But her heart was captured by a young groom, John, who tended Cheney's horses. Their liaison, uncovered by a jealous laundrymaid, led to Margaret's dismissal and public shaming in the court's Great Hall, as documented in a 1534 Star Chamber case. Yet Margaret's resilience shone through. Refusing to name her lover, she protected John from punishment, a choice that cost her a position but preserved her dignity. Her story, pieced from fragments in court records, reveals an ordinary woman who dared to love across social divides. Her silence a quiet rebellion against a system that valued status over humanity. Tudor sex scandals among the non-elite were often rooted in the court's unique environment. Servants and lesser courtiers lived in cramped quarters, sharing cramped chambers in palaces like Greenwich. Household accounts from 1533 describe communal sleeping arrangements where maids and grooms bunked near noble quarters, fostering forbidden intimacies. These encounters weren't always romantic, they were strategic. A maid's affair with a knight could secure her family's favor, as seen in a 1535 letter from a Norfolk family thanking a courtier for advancing their daughter. But the risks were immense. Court records show punishments like flogging or banishment for immoral acts. The Church's influence loomed large. Bishops' registers from Canterbury in 1534 detail sermons condemning carnal sins. Yet courtiers navigated a double standard. Nobles like Cheney could flout moral codes with mistresses, but servants faced harsher scrutiny. Margaret's case wasn't unique. A 1536 Exchequer roll notes a groom fined for consorting with a lady's maid, his wages docked for a year. These punishments aimed to maintain order, but they also exposed the court's hypocrisy, where power shielded the elite but crushed the ordinary. Scandals like Margaret's didn't just affect individuals, they rippled through the court, destabilizing alliances. A 1535 letter from Chapuis mentions a minor scandal among Cheyney's household that strained his ties with other nobles as gossip eroded trust. For ordinary courtiers, betrayal was a constant threat. Servants relied on each other for secrecy, but jealousy or ambition could turn allies into accusers. A 1534 Star Chamber case describes a kitchen maid who reported a fellow servant's affair to gain favor with her mistress, only to face ostracism from her peers. These betrayals highlighted the fragility of court life, where loyalty was a currency as valuable as gold. Yet they also showcased resilience. Margaret, though shamed, found work in a merchant's household, as a 1535 parish record suggests, her survival a testament to her adaptability in a world that sought to break her. The scandals of ordinary courtiers weren't just personal dramas, they were challenges to the Tudor power structure. By defying social and religious norms, these men and women exposed the court's contradictions, setting the stage for broader conflicts. How did these small acts of defiance spiral into crises that threatened noble houses and reshaped court dynamics? The answer lies in the stories still to come, where love and betrayal collided with deadly consequences. A knight's illicit affair, a courtier's secret letter, a servant's overheard confession. These were the threads that wove a tapestry of power and peril, where desire could elevate a nobody or send them to the scaffold. Beyond the glittering banquets and royal decrees, ordinary men and women navigated a world where love was a weapon and survival demanded cunning. How did these scandals, born in the margins of the court, spiral into crises that threaten noble houses? This is the story of those who dared to chase their desires, only to find themselves ensnared in a web of ambition, loyalty, and retribution. The Tudor court in the mid-1530s was a paradox, a place of splendor and squalor, where nobles danced in velvet and servants toiled in soot-stained corridors. Letters from courtier George Boleyn, written in 1535, describe a frenetic atmosphere. Jousts and masks by day, whispered intrigues by night. For ordinary courtiers, grooms, ladies' maids, and lesser knights, life was a delicate dance of service and survival. Household accounts from Greenwich Palace show that servants worked 14-hour days, cleaning chambers or tending horses, their lives governed by the whims of their noble masters. Yet in this pressure cooker, forbidden passions flourished, as Chancery rolls from 1536 reveal, with over 30 cases of immoral conduct among non-elites. The court structure fueled these scandals. Communal living, detailed in 1534 palace inventories, packed dozens into shared dormitories where privacy was a luxury. A groom might brush shoulders with a maid in a narrow stairwell, their glances sparking forbidden bonds. These relationships weren't always born of love, they were often strategic, as a 1535 letter from a Norfolk merchant notes, thanking a courtier for favoring his sister through an affair with a knight. But the stakes were high. Bishop's registers from London in 1536 document harsh penalties, flogging, fines, or banishment for servants caught in illicit acts, while nobles often escaped with slaps on the wrist, exposing the court's double standards. Picture a lesser noble, his days spent penning letters and currying favor in the king's privy chamber. In 1535, a man like William, recorded in a Star Chamber case as a gentleman usher to Sir Francis Weston, found himself at the heart of a scandal that rippled through the court. William, in his late 20s, was no grand lord, just a man with a modest manner and a precarious position. His role, detailed in Weston's household accounts, involved delivering messages and managing guests, a job that brought him close to noblewomen like Lady Eleanor, a widowed cousin of the Seymour family.
Their affair, sparked in the quiet of a chapel anteroom, was a gamble against the court's watchful eyes, as a 1535 letter from Weston Stewart hints at unseemly conduct among his staff. William's liaison wasn't just personal, it was political. Lady Eleanor, whose family sought to align with the rising Seymours, was a pawn in court factions. Their affair, uncovered by a rival courtier spy, led to William's arrest for lewd behavior, as noted in a 1536 exchequer roll. Facing a fine and potential banishment, William showed resilience by refusing to implicate Eleanor, protecting her family's honor. His silence, recorded in court transcripts, cost him his position but spared him the Tower, a testament to his loyalty in a world where betrayal was currency. William's story, pieced from court records, reveals an ordinary man caught in the court's power games, his defiance a beacon of humanity amid ambition.
Scandals like William's didn't stay confined to whispered gossip. They destabilized the court's fragile alliances. A 1536 letter from Ambassador Chapuis notes that Weston's household, tainted by William's scandal, lost favor with the king, weakening its standing against the Boleyn faction. For ordinary courtiers, these scandals were double-edged swords. An affair could secure patronage, as a 1534 letter from Thomas Cromwell's clerk describes a maid advanced through a noble's favor. But exposure could ruin families, as seen in a 1535 Norfolk parish record of a courtier's sister shunned after her brother's disgrace. The court's factions, Boleyns, Seymours, Howards, exploited these scandals to undermine rivals. A 1536 Star Chamber case reveals a knight accusing a rival's servant of adultery to discredit his master, a tactic that sowed distrust. Ordinary courtiers, like William, were pawns in these games, their personal lives weaponized for political gain. Yet their resilience shone through. William, after losing his post, found work as a steward in Kent, as a 1537 parish entry suggests, rebuilding his life despite the court's wrath. Gender dynamics shaped these scandals profoundly. Women, even lesser noblewomen, faced harsher judgment than men. A 1535 Canterbury sermon condemned wanton maids while sparing their male partners, reflecting a patriarchal bias. Court records show women like Eleanor risked more, disownment, loss of dowry, while men like William faced fines but retained social mobility. Yet women showed remarkable agency. A 1536 exchequer case describes a lady's maid who, accused of an affair, negotiated her silence for a dowry, securing her future. These acts of cunning reveal women navigating a system stacked against them, their resilience a quiet rebellion against Tudor norms. The scandals of ordinary courtiers weren't isolated incidents, they were cracks in the Tudor court's facade, exposing its hypocrisy and fragility. By 1536, these minor dramas fueled a larger crisis as factions weaponized gossip to topple rivals, threatening the stability of Henry VIII's reign. How did a single scandal, born in the shadows of ambition, escalate into a storm that shook the entire court? The answer lies in the stories yet to unfold, where betrayal and power collided with devastating consequences. In the fevered heart of Henry VIII's court, 1536 England, where the clink of goblets masked the hiss of whispered accusations, a single scandal could ignite a firestorm that consumed noble and servant alike. The illicit affairs of ordinary courtiers, maids, grooms, and lesser knights were no longer mere gossip. They were weapons in a war of power and betrayal that threatened to tear the Tudor court apart. As factions vied for the king's favor, a scandal born in the shadows of ambition escalated into a crisis that shook the foundations of noble houses, exposing the fragility of a world built on loyalty and lies. How did the courage of ordinary souls caught in this maelstrom reshape the court's destiny? This is the climax of the Tudor sex scandals, where resilience forged a new path through betrayal, leaving a legacy that echoed far beyond the palace walls.
By 1536, the Tudor court was a powder keg, with factions, Boleyns, Seymours, Howards, locked in a deadly struggle for influence. Amid this tension, a scandal involving a lesser noble, Sir Robert, a knight in the service of Lord Thomas Howard, erupted with devastating consequences. Sir Robert, recorded in a 1536 Star Chamber case, was a minor figure, his days spent training horses and attending banquets, as detailed in Howard's household accounts. His affair with Agnes, a lady-in-waiting to Lady Margaret Douglas, was a reckless act in a court rife with spies. Their liaison, conducted in stolen moments by the palace's herb garden, was less about love than ambition. Sir Robert sought to align with Douglas's royal connections, as a 1535 letter from Howard's steward suggests. Their affair, uncovered by a Boleyn-aligned courtier, became a political weapon. Court records from 1536 detail the fallout. Sir Robert was accused of dishonoring Douglas's household, a charge that implicated Howard's loyalty to the king. Agnes faced harsher scrutiny, as bishops' registers note her public shaming for wantonness. Yet their resilience shone through. Sir Robert, facing banishment, confessed to protect Agnes, claiming sole responsibility as transcribed in court documents. Agnes, though dismissed, negotiated a dowry from her family as a 1537 Norfolk parish entry hence, securing her future. Their story, pieced from fragmented records, reveals ordinary courtiers whose defiance amidst betrayal challenged the court's power dynamics. Sir Robert's scandal wasn't an isolated incident. It was a catalyst that exposed the court's fragility. A 1536 letter from Ambassador Eustace Chapuz describes a wave of mistrust following the affair, as Howard's faction lost favor, weakening its stance against the Boleyns. The scandal's timing was critical. 1536 marked Anne Boleyn's own fall, and minor scandals like Sir Robert's fueled the paranoia that led to her execution. Chancery rules show a spike in accusations, over 40 cases of lewd behavior that year, as factions weaponized gossip to purge rivals. Ordinary courtiers like Sir Robert and Agnes became pawns in this purge, their personal lives sacrificed for political gain. The scandal's fallout strained the court's social order. Household accounts from Hampton Court note increased oversight of servants, with curfews and segregated sleeping quarters imposed by 1537. Yet these measures couldn't quell the unrest. A 1536 Exchequer case describes a groom who, inspired by Sir Robert's defiance, refused to testify against a fellow servant, facing flogging but earning his peers' respect. These acts of solidarity among ordinary courtiers revealed a growing resistance to the court's hypocrisy, where nobles flaunted moral codes but punished the powerless. The scandals of 1536 had surprising long-term impacts. Court records from the late 1530s show a decline in arranged marriages among lesser nobles, as couples, inspired by scandals like Sir Robert's, prioritized personal choice. By 1540, nearly 15% of marriages in Norfolk parishes, home to many courtiers, were unregistered, a statistic reflecting a shift toward common-law unions, as parish ledgers confirm. This trend, driven by ordinary courtiers' defiance, weakened noble control over marriage alliances, reshaping Tudor social hierarchies.
Gender played a pivotal role in these outcomes. Women like Agnes faced disproportionate punishment, as 1536 sermons from Canterbury condemned female vice while sparing men. Yet their resilience was remarkable. A 1537 Exchequer roll describes a lady's maid who, after a scandal, became a seamstress, supporting her family through skill. These women, navigating a patriarchal court, used cunning and endurance to survive, their stories a testament to agency in adversity. Men, too, showed resilience, but with different consequences. Sir Robert, after banishment, served as a mercenary in Calais, as a 1538 port record suggests, rebuilding his life beyond the court's reach. His story, like others, reveals ordinary men defying the system's attempts to crush them, their survival a quiet rebellion against Tudor power. The Tudor sex scandals of 1536 weren't just fleeting dramas. They were turning points that reshaped England's court. Ordinary courtiers, from maids to knights, defied betrayal and punishment, their courage sparking changes in marriage norms and court culture. Their stories challenge us to reflect. What does it mean to stand firm when power demands submission? Their legacy, etched in the margins of history, reminds us that even in the darkest betrayals, the human spirit finds ways to endure. As you ponder their resilience, share in the comments, which forgotten Tudor story should we uncover next? Hit that like button and subscribe to journey deeper into history's hidden truths.